Hello and welcome back to another episode of Best in UC TV. I'm your host, Heather Clancy, and joining me today is Scott Strochak, the CEO and founder of Xtelesis out in San Francisco. One of the things that I've asked Scott to talk to me a little bit about is some interesting data that has been coming out in the last couple of weeks about the way in which people are using or not using their video conferencing and IP communications technologies. As we were preparing for this interview, Scott mentioned that his company focuses on the experience, on making sure that the communications technologies that it's choosing is a great experience for the user. So I'd like to start by asking what you mean by that. You know, how is user experience so intimately involved with this technology?
Yeah, thanks, Heather, and thanks for having me today. We think that technology just for the sake of technology is meaningless, right? You can spend millions and millions of dollars on all sorts of gadgets and gizmos and things like that for the enterprise just to say you have them. But if your users don't know how to use them and they aren't, or perhaps they're not worth the user experience, basically that's millions and millions of dollars wasted. I think studies have proven that when users can use stuff, I know it's kind of a simplification, of course, but when users can use stuff, they're going to use it more often.
Right.
So as part of any of our processes for choosing product, installing product, educating customers on how to use product, we make sure that the end user experience is as good and as easy an experience as possible.
Right.
And it permeates throughout our entire business. It's from choosing product, which is when we go and choose product, we want to make sure that it doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest vendor in any particular market, but we want to make sure it's the best. And for us, best is, hey, this is something that users are really going to use. They're going to find it easy, and they're going to use it.
What makes for a good user interface? You know, what are the components of that? You know, when someone's looking for one of these, what do they need to look at in specific?
So that's an interesting question, and one that gets posed to me quite a bit because I am crazy about end user interfaces. I will complain to the nth degree when I find something that just seems like it should be so easy. And a manufacturer just for whatever reason doesn't do it, whether it's GPS in my car or the phone that I use or whatever. I just think user interface is such an important part of any technology, so what makes it simple is obviously better, right? There's a reason that the iPhone is the most popular smartphone with the over 50 set ever made, right? It's easy, right?
Yeah.
My mom looks at my phone compared to the phone that she uses, and she says, well, why is it so hard for me to put a contact in my phone or something like that? I said, well, you know, your phone wasn't designed with the end user experience in mind. So simple is good. Full featured is of course very important. Those two things don't necessarily go together because as you add more features, usually things get more complicated. But there are certainly ways to do it, and Apple has certainly shown us from a consumer perspective how to do it. And the vendors that we've chosen for better UC in the enterprise, we think are the absolute best at that.
Right.
We chose ShoreTel because they have the best and most intuitive end user interface at the desktop for doing phone communications and messaging and all that kind of stuff. And we chose Lifesize in the video arena because they make it's a 20-button remote control that anybody
that even I could use because I'm not a remote control person.
Yeah, you're a technologist though, right?
I'm a technologist.
I could bring my father in here, who not only is not a remote control person, but is absolutely not a technologist, and he could come in here and in 5 minutes or so figure out how to set up a video call, and that's really what we're shooting for.
Right.
We want my parents to be able to use this stuff.
How do you marry that interface with a core business process of a company, right? Because the small business or the mid-sized business, they're buying this stuff because they need it to be part of the process. It can't be aside from the process. How do you help your customers understand how to use this technology and to integrate it into their business processes? How do you do that?
Yeah, so from a communications perspective, so integrating in the business processes, I look at it in a couple of different ways. One is, can we integrate this technology into existing technology to make that technology better? So, for example, if a customer of ours is a Salesforce.com user and they track all their customer data and their sales team is using Salesforce to track customers, wouldn't it be great if the phone system integrated to that? So an outside or an outbound call campaign, an end user looking at a Salesforce potential client or whatever can just click on a button and place a call and save the 14 seconds that it takes normally to go look up a phone number, move to your phone, dial the number, right? 14 seconds doesn't sound like a whole lot, but 14 seconds over 1,000 agents over the course of making 50 calls a day adds up very quickly. So it's the integration of some of these products into existing systems to make those systems more productive. And it's just people using stuff more, right? I mean, communications in a company, I don't really consider it so much of a business process. You and me having this conversation, 15 years ago or even 5 years ago, we certainly could have this conversation. We would have had it on the phone, more likely than not, or we would have had it on relatively poor video conferencing. And here we are having this conversation. You're in Hackensack, New Jersey. I'm in Burlingame, California, and I'm looking at you in a beautiful HD picture, and you're looking at me. I'm probably a little less beautiful, but still in HD.
Just as beautiful.
And we're having this face to face, and it feels much more like we're in the same room with relatively inexpensive technology. So the communications part of things, just having easier products to use, a better result from those products makes people use them and integrates them more into just this standard way of doing business, right? If you're a multi-site customer, your folks in your San Francisco office may not talk so much to the folks in the New York office just because they're in New York. I don't feel particularly attached to them. They're Yankees fans and I'm Giants fan. Whatever the chasm is, the technology is no longer the chasm, right? Now you can put a video unit over there, turn it on all day. Put a video unit over here, turn it on all day, and people just walk back and forth and say, "Oh, hey Heather, how you doing? How's the weather over in New York today?" And really feel like they're more part of the enterprise. So
Two other things.
People using it, I think that.
Sure. Two other things I want to pick your brain about before we have to close. One is you mentioned earlier that it's looking to be a good year-end close. 2011's looking kind of nice and bright. What's making people sign the check? What's making them invest in these communications technologies right now? What are the business drivers for them?
Yeah, there's a few things. As I mentioned earlier, the economy, I think, is certainly starting to turn around. People are feeling more confident about the future. So purse strings are opening a little bit. People still want to make sure that they're spending right. Again, you don't want to spend on technology just for the sake of spending on technology, but you want stuff that's going to make people more productive. So that's certainly a part of it. Video is driving everything these days. Whether you turn on the TV and you watch an episode of 30 Rock where Cisco Telepresence is the episode in 30 Rock, or you watch 24, I don't know if it's still on the air, I don't think it is anymore, but where the Situation Room is all Cisco gear and video and all sorts of other stuff. Video is everywhere. And that's really driving things because for a bunch of reasons. One, it's got an immediate ROI. So we spend some money on this video gear, but this conversation that if it needed to be face-to-face like this and high quality, the only way we could have solved this problem 2 or 3 years ago was one of us getting on a plane and flying to the other location and having a face-to-face meeting. I'm not saying that's going to go away, but there's plenty of places where that's no longer necessary. And this is a good example of it's no longer necessary for us to be face to face to do this, but still have that I can read what's going on in your face, you can read what's going on my face experience. So the ROI on this stuff is almost immediate. So video's driving everything. Our video business is going to be up 300% year over year. Just being driven by a market that's hungry for video.
Good for you. So I want to go back to some data that I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation here, and that's that there were some interesting stats out this week that pointed to the fact that most of the companies that are investing in video conferencing, if you will, whatever you want to call it, have gone for the room-based systems, right? And yet, many of them, and a growing number of them, have all of these remote people, people out in offices. I'm a free agent. I work in my home. I'm sure that you have tons of salespeople that work in their home, and so those people are kind of all left out in the cold, if you will, in terms of the video experience. So I'm just curious. Do you have any thoughts about how that's going to change in 2011? How can that change, and what's going to happen down the pike?
Yeah, that's a good point. So 2011 is really going to be the breaking point for moving out of the conference room here that we're in, and giving these services to remote workers. You're going to see some very interesting things coming from Skype, one of the bigger names and maybe the biggest name in video conferencing in terms of number of people that use their product to do it.
And easy to use.
And easy to use. People understand the interface already. I think there's 400 million registered Skype users around the world. Slap on I have 2 accounts actually. Slap on a webcam, or use a Mac that's got it built in, and now you're doing video conferencing. Historically, it's only been point-to-point between Skype users, but there's going to be some things coming. We're partnered with a company called Vidtel that can actually take a Skype call in and connect it to my room-based video conferencing system here. So now I'm adding Skype users to this conference that we're having, and the end user experience doesn't change at all. That's the beauty of that, right? They already know how to use the desktop interface. They don't need to add anything to it. They're just Skyping into me here, and it's fabulous. It's a great experience for everybody. It doesn't cost anything, right? The Vidtel piece has a little cost to it, but the end user, you don't have to add software to them. They already have it. So those things, very easy to use, going to drive a lot of remote video. FaceTime drives a lot of remote video on, if you're an iPhone 4 user, or if you're using Tango on Android. This Vidtel company actually will be able to take any endpoint and deliver it into a room-based video conference. So we're very excited for 2011 and taking all of these things that we do and extending them one step further to make that remote user feel like they're more part of any organization. And it goes to the phone system as well. You follow the news, but ShoreTel, which is our main phone system vendor, acquired a company called Agito, which has a fabulous fixed mobile product that's going to integrate to the phone system. So now that remote user, whether they're in their home office, whether they're in Starbucks, wherever they happen to be, they're absolutely 100% connected to the organization, and that's what it's all about.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to that, definitely. Thank you for your thoughts today. And I'm going to definitely have to check back in with you to see how things are going in 2011. So look forward to definitely look forward to talking.
By Skype.
Maybe we will do the next one by Skype, and I won't even have to come to Hackensack.
That'll be fun.
Thank you for viewing another episode of Best in UC TV. Checking out.